Well, good morning, Trondheim friends, and welcome to this week's edition of Patio Ponderings. Can you believe that Christmas is less than 2 weeks away? It seems like it's come so fast this year. So, of course, we are in the season of Advent, awaiting Christmas, awaiting the return of Jesus, and in that, we've been hearing a lot of the usual Christmas stories in worship. The story of Elizabeth as she prepares for her son, John the Baptist, and of the story of Mary, how the angel comes to her and tells her she is going to be the mother of Jesus. Well, along with these stories, we've been hearing the story of Abraham and Sarah. And so I've been thinking about that and wondering, is that really part of the Christmas story? Are those stories important to Jesus' birth, coming to the world? So let's revisit the Abraham and Sarah story and see if we can find connections or not. So the Abraham and Sarah story starts when God visits Abram and tells him to go to a land that he will give them. And then God makes a promise, a covenant with Abraham. And it goes something like this. God says, I'm going to make of you a great nation, and I'm going to bless you. In turn, you will be a blessing. In fact, all the families of the earth are going to be blessed by you, Abraham, and your family and your descendants. Now, if we remember the story, this is pretty remarkable since Abraham and Sarah are very old. At the time they received this promise, Abraham's in his 70s, and Sarah is barren and has not been able to have children and is now well past childbearing age, and yet God insists that they are going to become parents. So what has this to do with Christmas? Well, if we understand that promise of them being a blessing to all the families of the earth, I think that's our first clue. And actually, we can then trace a line from Abraham and Sarah and the promise they receive through the story of Moses to the story of King David. And then we hear that other promise that it is out of the line of King David that a Messiah is going to come. So there is a clear line that goes all the way from Abraham and Sarah to the birth of Jesus. Is it possible that Jesus is this blessing for all the families of the world? That's certainly one way to look at it. I think another way that we can be thinking about this is that there is such a resonance between the story of Sarah and the story of Elizabeth. And of course, other stories of women who become mothers in God's work in the world. That this is what God does. God brings life in unexpected ways in the world. To those places and to those people who are barren, God brings life, even when it seems impossible. To a virgin woman, God's going to bring life. And this comes to fruition as well in the birth of Jesus. Jesus is going to be the Savior of the world. Jesus is the King. And yet, Jesus is not born in a palace. He's born in a stable. New life, a whole new way of being in a very unexpected place. So what about you? Can you see the connections between the Abraham and Sarah story and the stories of Christmas of Elizabeth and Mary? Or are you confused and it still doesn't make sense? And that's okay. That's totally okay. As always, I'd love to hear what you have to say. It is chilly out there, but this is Minnesota and it is December. So stay warm and we'll see you on Sunday. Bye.